Welcome to today's explainer. I'm seriously so excited to walk you through this one. Okay, just close your eyes for a quick second and imagine the absolute ultimate endless summer. Perfect warm weather, total freedom, no alarm clocks blaring at 6 a.m., and you're just cruising your absolute favorite car down a gorgeous coastal highway. Sounds pretty amazing, right? Now bump that up against the socially accepted reality we're all sold. Grinding away in a cubicle, day in and day out, just hoping, crossing your fingers, that by the time you hit 65, you might finally have enough cash stashed away to enjoy a few sunny days in retirement. I mean, it kind of doesn't sound right, does it? Why on earth should we trade the absolute best, most vibrant years of our lives just for the distant promise of a vacation when we're old? Well, today we are going to unpack a concept that completely shatters that traditional timeline.
So, really, why wait until you're 65 to finally enjoy the beach? Let's dive right into this. We're going to break down the core concepts from MJ DeMarco's book, The Millionaire Fastlane, using an awesome breakdown by Fight Mediocrity. Basically, DeMarco says there are three distinct financial paths you can take in life. Think of these paths like three different route options on a massive summer road trip. One route leaves you totally stranded, one takes literally forever, and one gets you to that endless summer way faster than you probably ever thought possible.
So here's our visual roadmap for the explainer. Your financial road trip basically comes down to choosing between the sidewalk for instant gratification, the slow lane for that painful 40-year wait, or the fast lane for massive value creation. Let's look at where each road takes you.
All right, first up, the sidewalk. The sidewalker is essentially your average person living paycheck to paycheck. Now listen, it is a huge misconception that sidewalkers are always broke. You can actually have a massive income and still be stuck on the sidewalk. Think about a pro athlete, right? They might be pulling in millions, but if they have zero financial intelligence, they're matching every single dollar they earn with exactly what they spend. It's basically the equivalent of going on your summer road trip, blowing absolutely all your cash on a wild weekend beach bender, and leaving yourself with literally zero gas money to get back home. If you lose your job or, your skills just aren't needed anymore, you are completely stranded. That is exactly why you see these high-earning athletes go completely flat broke. The sidewalk is a trap. Just don't take it.
And that brings us to road number 2, the slow lane. Unfortunately, this is the one most of society follows. It usually goes a little something like this. You go to school for your first 22 years, then you get a decent job, you religiously save 10% of your income, toss it in the stock market, and just pray it grows at an average 7% interest rate for the next 4 decades. Then boom, when you're 65 years old, assuming, you're still kicking and can actually walk, you finally become a millionaire. Yay! Keeping with our road trip analogy, the slow lane is literally like driving 20 miles per hour in a sensible minivan for 40 years, just hoping the beach is still there when you finally roll up in a wheelchair. When you put these two realities side by side, it's pretty stark. The slow lane is essentially selling your soul for 40 years. You're selling your time Monday through Friday just to buy back 2 little days of freedom on the weekend. And you do this over and over and over again. It's honestly soul-crushing. Meanwhile, the fast lane is about driving that dream car and actually experiencing that endless summer freedom right now, while you're still young and energetic enough to enjoy it. You're not doing that terrible 5-for-2 trade. Instead, you're providing immense value to the world so you can just buy a first-class ticket to your destination right away. So, how do we actually get on this third road? Well, the fast lane is based entirely on one core principle. The more value you give to the world, the richer you will become. Now, hold on. I know exactly what you might be thinking. When you first hear the phrase, give to get rich, it sounds kind of esoteric, right? Like something you'd read on a cheesy motivational poster. It even confused the creator of our source material at first. But understanding the specific law of value creation is absolutely crucial. It is the only legitimate way to accelerate your wealth. To really grasp this, we have to clarify what giving actually means, because it's not what most people assume. If you grabbed $1,000 right now, walked outside and handed a $100 bill to 10 random people, that is low-level giving. Sure, it's nice, but those people are just going to take the cash, buy some stuff they don't need, and end up in the exact same spot tomorrow. It doesn't make you rich, and frankly, it doesn't really help them long-term either. On the flip side, high-level giving means creating a massive solution to a real painful problem. If you went into your kitchen right now and invented a pill that cures cancer, or, hey, sticking with our summer theme, a pill that instantly cures a severe peeling sunburn, that is a massive contribution to the world. And yes, assuming you protect your invention, you would become incredibly wealthy. The rule is dead simple. Provide more value to more people, and you will do better.
All right, let's hit a bit of a hard truth here. If you aren't capable of giving tremendous value to other people, that is your fault. Look, the biggest criticism MJ DeMarco gets for his book is people whining, but MJ, you're misleading us. Most people can't just go out and create a successful business or a revolutionary product. Okay, time for a little tough love. Stop blaming MJ. Stop blaming the book. If you haven't put in the work to develop yourself to the point where you actually have something of true value to offer the world, that is entirely on you. You've got to take absolute ownership of your own journey.
So the real secret sauce here is making the shift from being a consumer to being a producer. The creator of our source material shares this perfect story from his college days that hits the nail on the head. Every single day after classes, he would head straight to the library, grab a book, and read to educate himself on how to actually create value. Meanwhile, his roommate was sit in their dorm and just binge-watch Netflix for 8 hours straight. One guy was purely consuming, the other was preparing to produce. If you want a ticket to the fast lane, you literally have to turn off the TV and hit the library. And the results of those daily habits are just staggering. Because the creator spent his time grinding in the library, he positioned himself to provide value to over 10,000 people through his content. Now look at his roommate. Zero. Nothing. What if that roommate suddenly woke up tomorrow and decided, hey, I want to start a YouTube channel and get rich? What would he even talk about? He spent all his time consuming other people's stuff. He has absolutely nothing of his own to give. And again, that is not the book's fault. That is his fault. Which kind of perfectly brings us back to the reality of the slow lane, 7%. That is the average annual return you cross your fingers for in the stock market when you're stuck in the slow lane. But settling for a ridiculously small 7% return means you're making a terrible, terrible trade. You're selling your life in the form of time. And time is literally the most valuable commodity you will ever have. You are trading away all your young, vibrant, energetic summers just to sit around and wait for a 7% drip over 4 decades. Now compare that sad 7% to a 10,000% return. No joke. When our source looked at his investment of time and resources into his channel, he calculated a very conservative 10,000% return in just a single year. Not 7%, 10,000%. That is the explosive, completely life-changing power of the fast lane when you actually figure out how to give value to the world. It doesn't just tweak the rules of wealth, it completely rewrites them. So why does the fast lane actually work so incredibly well? First off, you produce instead of consume. Simple enough. Second, there's no artificial ceiling to your business growth. And third, and this one is a real game changer, you can easily double a business in a matter of months. Think about the slow lane alternative for a second. Try marching into your boss's office tomorrow morning and saying, hey, so I'd like to go from $20 an hour to $40 an hour by, let's say, October. We all know exactly how fast you'd get laughed out of that room. It's impossible. But in a business where you are the one producing the value, doubling your reach and your income in a few months is absolutely on the table. It really all boils down to this. Wealth is generated by magnitude and scale. Let's look at a store cashier versus someone like Bill Gates. Why is Bill Gates a billionaire while the cashier is scraping by on hourly wages? It's not about who's a nicer person or who works harder physically. It is strictly about the magnitude and the scale of help they provide to the world. A cashier helps a very limited number of people, very locally on a very small scale. Bill Gates, on the other hand, provided a massive solution, personal computing, to billions of people globally. Wealth is just a reflection of the scale and magnitude of the value you put out there. Which leaves us with the ultimate question as we wrap up this explainer. As you think about that endless summer and finally achieving the freedom to live life purely on your own terms, while you're still young enough to really enjoy it, will you spend tonight watching TV? Or will you start building your fast lane? Look, the slow lane might be the most realistic strategy for people who absolutely refuse to develop themselves. But if you are willing to spend just a little more time in the library and a little less time staring at a screen, the fast lane is completely within your reach. It's your choice. Make it a good one. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.